sentimental reasons. I hope you do believe me. I'll give you my heart. I love you.
Hey everyone, Blackwatch here. Going to cover this week's PA on GBP USD. We're kind of in a weird position between higher time frame POIs. We've kind of come off of more or less two flips, and price has been a little bit rangy on the 4 hour. 15 minutes been providing pretty well, I thought. But again, you are trading within a range, and it's kind of unclear what price action wants to do at the current moment. But with that being said, I will kind of show you how I saw things this week, and we'll kind of go through price. I'm sure we'll bar replay some stuff, but yeah, we'll just kind of dig into it and see what we get. But yeah, I don't have too much fluff to discuss. Let's just get into the meat and potatoes. So we can look at the daily just to kind of start, or ignore the stuff to the left for now. It's kind of irrelevant for what happened this week. Overall, price has been kind of racking off of more or less a daily flip. So like, we're just going to focus on kind of this area for now, because again, that's kind of what is relevant to this week. We had price come off of this demand here, right? And it's not the best demand zone. It didn't sweep any liquidity. It like just barely took out these equal highs, but it is a sell candle before this buy here. And we can see that price came down and it reacted off of it, right? We got this pullback, or this reaction, right, from this zone. So I can qualify that as demand. And then of course it reacted, and then it pushed to the downside here. Price made it basically into this flip zone, which is a little bit more clear on the 4 hour. So we'll look at that, but I'll mark this up for now, right? And that's what price hit here. And that pushed price back up into this more or less daily flip zone. Because what you'll see is that this white bar, this white candle, is an inside bar. So that indicates a range. This high, this wick right here, takes out the high of that range. So that is a sweep of liquidity. So then this became a valid supply zone, right, for price. I'm not sure. What was the beginning of this week? The 7th. And the 7th is, this is the 7th right here. So it already reacted off of the zone and then pulled back. It didn't really do much. I do think it came off of some kind of flip within this, or swept a flip. We'll have to take a look on the 4 hour, kind of see what we have in here. But this 4 hour range right here of these wicks and these highs, this is kind of what we were trading this week. So on the 4 hour, not the best. But if we kind of look at it from the perspective of, we're coming off of this flip zone here, we got this bullish push, we've now reacted to this bearish flip zone, and we got a nice push to the downside. Price has been kind of indecisive as to what it actually wants to do. So let's go to the 4 hour, see if we can clean some of it up. All right, refine this daily zone to that there. This we can probably refine to not that one, because we don't get a reaction there. So what looks like it's happening is we had price here, and then this came and mitigated it, and this became more of a demand chain than anything, which then we can justify this reaction through it. And then here, right, here's that supply, right? We can just use this wick because price reacts to that wick. Anything, yeah, obviously it's this whole candle right here, but that's not really refined. You could close off this wick, but again, price doesn't really react to that. Where price actually halts is at the wick, so we'll just refine it to that wick there. That's the reaction. And this, of course, is the demand zone. So this is more or less where price really showed bullish intent at this zone right here, which is why we got this huge reaction. Everything else was in the middle of the leg, which is internal range liquidity. So as price pushed into each of these zones to the left, we just got little pullbacks. Again, these are just catalysts for pullbacks and internal range liquidity. This could have been possibly seen as internal range liquidity, but because of the reaction to the supply to the left, that gave price a little bit more reason to actually push above and kind of continue up in this nice bullish trend. So yeah, I do want to focus on this stuff because that's more relevant to this week. But that's kind of what we have going on right now. We have a significant supply flip and a significant demand flip where price is kind of sitting between and it's kind of figuring out what it wants to do. And if this fails here, we obviously have the extreme, but there's a good chance that we might just continue pushing bullish price action, potentially into maybe some of these higher like weekly zones, but this looks like it's already mitigated here. I mean, I can qualify this as a weekly zone just because if you look at it, right, this is just a range. There's a high and a low and price range within it, and then price mitigated something within this range here. I mean, obviously I could go to the weekly, but I don't feel like it. So what we can do from here is we can try to understand how could we possibly have traded this range here. Now, it's not the best, obviously. The 7th is right here, so this would be Monday for us. So we'll be kind of poking around to see what price is doing, right? Now the first thing I want to see is basically why has price reacted here? Why did it come down quick and then push up? If I look to the left, right, because we're always reading from the left, I'm going to say, well, this is significant supply, right? Significant supply because it has taken out this, right? It took out this low right here. Took out some of these highs right here and then pushed it downside, broke this low. This happens to also be part of the reaction to this demand zone, right? Which just ended up being catalyst for a pullback, totally fine. Right, get that pullback and price continued lower. This low broke here, which ended up giving us our supply zone, right? And then we reacted to that flip zone to the left. And when price approached this 4-hour zone, it gave it a reaction, right? So you can see here on the 4-hour, you get the sell candle, right? And then we'll have to go to the 15 to kind of see what that looks like and kind of break it down. But ultimately price came up, hit this nice zone up here. We got that pretty aggressive reaction to the downside. So then the thing is here, right? This is the other part that is kind of throwing me off. Is that we took out this high, right? So we have a break of structure to the upside, and then we take out this low, which is a break of structure to the downside, right? So now we had bullish confirmation to the downside, right? And then price ultimately came up and took out the high of this, and then again pushed to the downside. Now this is technically a sweep of liquidity. However, we haven't committed to bearish price action yet. I'm not sure if that's something that's going to set up next week or if we are going to continue bullish. It's kind of hard to say, to be honest, but we'll kind of see what plays out. I think the higher time frame, like the daily and that kind of stuff, is still kind of telling us that we do want to continue short, possibly, right? Especially after reacting off of this. This is the daily flip zone. This is price reacting off of that daily flip zone. The higher time frame is telling me that price may want to continue to the downside, take out these lows, mitigate some of this higher time frame demand. But it's kind of hard to say. We might come to this extreme. We could push higher, but we'll just kind of trade what we see. So, right. So we know that we broke to the downside here, right? So in theory, shorts were kind of on, and we'll have to look at the 15 to kind of see what was up. I definitely did take a loss this morning trying to short it, but I'll try to find that in the recap and go from there. All right, let's see. 10 minutes. All right, let's push. Let's go into the 15-minute. Now what I'm going to do is kind of like what I did in that one video where I kind of pick out some POIs on the 15-minute for each day, and then we'll just go down to the 1 minute and we'll try to bar replay it or just check it out depending on how fed up I get with myself. And yeah, we'll go from there. We're just trying to learn as we go, right? So what I want to do is, because this is Monday's price action right here, All right, I'll just put a circle on this. I want to know why price pushed below this level and then started to push to the upside, right? Like what did this hit? Now, one thing we know is that we had this 4-hour supply right here, and this is that reaction. So what we can do is we can try to understand like what's going on with it. Now, without looking to the right, what I see here initially is that this right here, this piece right here is our initial reaction, right, to the supply zone. Price pushed up, we got to push back down, and then price pushed up again, and then this got taken out, right, so it got swept. So this POI right here becomes kind of high probability, right? This sweep of that flip indicates that price may want to trade in the opposite direction. I mean, obviously this could be seen as a break to the downside, but what we're looking for is essentially we're looking for that confirmation. And price ultimately takes out that high and then trades into a demand chain, which I'll drop in a second. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that you also have this very like nondescript level of demand. This isn't necessarily something that you trade off of, but what you're looking for is you're looking for a reason for price to have stopped right here and then shift course, right? Because we obviously got that nice bearish price action off of this supply zone after taking out these highs, swept this liquidity, and then it tapped again this fairly nondescript demand zone. So now I can say, all right, well, that could be the first part of my chain. And what I'll do is I'll basically just map out my demand across the board, see what taps it, and then go from there. Now here again, this candle comes and it takes out this low. So now we have, and it taps into this demand zone right here. So now we have again, just another kind of demand zone. Right, and then again, one more time that taps into there, and then you have this nice implied bar and that kind of stuff. So basically anything within this, potentially this sweep here, potentially this sweep here, I would consider like it a possibility for price to, if it comes and taps into it, give a reaction and then trade whatever longs. Because again, this is the flip, right? This is price hitting that supply zone, and then that's the reaction, that's the sweep, this is the chain. So something within this would be nice. I wouldn't be surprised if price came into something into one of these as well. But again, we're not necessarily just smacking a trade on as soon as it gets there. We're looking for price to hit it and then set up, right? So let's see which one does what. Right, so that one gives that reaction, and that one gives that reaction, and it looks like this one doesn't quite get touched, so I'm just going to delete it for now, right? So here, again, this is not Monday, this is Friday PA, so I'm not too concerned with it. I'll put that on there, see if we can catch a trade, and then, yeah, and then again, looks like price hit some of the supply, but that's Asia, so I'm not too worried about it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark up this supply zone here, as that's the reactionary point for this. And that is mainly because we have, let's see if we can make sense of this mess. This is spread hour wick right here, but it does take out this high. So we do have a sweep of liquidity on that. And then this looks like we basically, price pushed off of that previous demand chain. It attempted to push down, it pushed right back up here. So we have some nice demand right there. That demand fails right about in here on this wick. And then price pushed back up, and then it tapped into this sweep right here. So that makes this zone somewhat valid to at least look for a reaction. And now what we can do is go into here and look for entry. Here again, that's part of that demand chain there. This was already tapped into. We could drag it across. Either way, this level or this level would be good for TPs if we do catch something short in here. This high right here might be a good level to potentially take profits from. And what you'll notice is that as price starts to shift direction, right? So as it was bullish before and then turned bearish, as price started to kind of push to the upside, we got a couple of breaks of the high that led to like pretty significant pullbacks, which ultimately led to trading from the extreme and then like very large push to the upside. So That is something to keep in mind as well. So let's see, we have basically some demand in here, which also happens to be a reaction to that demand, which makes sense as to why this reacted here, because it's coming off of this supply, this bigger candle. And this is a reaction to demand while supply is in control, gets a sweep, reaction here, supply chain, get that reaction, doesn't quite commit to the downside. We end up breaking to the upside and then going from there. Now, one thing you have to keep in mind, right, is like this is the high we're trading and this is the low we're trading. Everything in between it is just range, right? It's just liquidity. You always want to focus on the extremes or the demand chains from this extreme, or the demand or the supply chain from the extreme. So, okay, anyway, so yeah, circle, well, that's fine. This, obviously we get a nice reaction there off of this supply zone. Potential entry there off of this, sorry, demand zone. Yep. Demand as well. Now this doesn't quite mitigate this lower POI right here, right? It doesn't quite tap it. But what I'm seeing is it looks like it's playing off more of the range here. It doesn't mean that this might get hit later, but for right now, I don't think it gets tapped, so we're just gonna ignore it. And then, yeah, this is, again, kind of similar situation. Nice POI. We'll just mark it up, right? See, you can see here, this is where I took one of my longs off of this POI right there. And then, yeah, this is kind of a mess in here. This is the problem, right? A lot of midday stuff on Monday, Tuesday was just incredibly rangy, traded between highs and lows, and then broke the highs and got that deep pullback, and then eventually we get the push back up, right? So again, often when you're trading counter trend, the best time to take counter trend moves is when you break the highs. If demand is in control, you want to short it, wait until supply fails, and then short it. Otherwise, you might find yourself in like this kind of stuff, right? Because in theory, like this is your supply, right? And if you kept trying to short this, I can't even imagine what that would have looked like. There would have been a lot of losses in there. And then it's the same thing here, right? So you have the supply. Again, what happens? Price hits it, pushes to the downside. It's pretty messy. If you're looking on the 1 hour for entries in this, you probably would have got tossed around a little bit. What you'll notice is that when the high actually went is when we got like a true pullback, right? So keep that in mind when you're doing counter trend trading. All right, let's see. So we need to basically, we can see if there's something in this PA for shorts, and then there's some longs that I took in here, so I'll go over those. I attempted to take a short in here as well, but I took a loss, and then yeah, I'm not sure what it came into, but it came into something else. It took out this high, and then it kind of screwed me. That's okay. This is part of a supply chain right there. This does sweep this high right here, which is why I wanted to short it from that level, right? Because what you can see is basically we have this demand, right? And again, cover some of that, just justifying this reaction, right? I'm trying my very best not to incorporate like the window of imbalance stuff, but it is prevalent. It does pop up quite a bit. So if you notice it and I ignore it, don't worry about it. But that's basically what happened here. Kind of screwed off this demand zone and just went off the window of imbalance. You see right here, right? Window of imbalance, again, for those who don't know, it's imbalance on both the bearish and the bullish side of the market. So just both sides of the market, there's inefficiency. Price likes to react to it for some reason. So again, I don't have a ton of data on it. I have enough to know that it's very much a thing, but not the best to trade off of at the moment. Still working on it, but obviously you can do it if you want. Just put the data on it. Anyway, so yeah, so that took out that high, and then it pushed to the downside, telling me supply was in control, so I was happy to short it from this POI. I just got in too soon. then here it took longs, right? I did not manage to catch any shorts in here. I think I tried to, can't remember exactly, but it did not come back to tag me in. And then I caught this short right at the end of today, Friday. It was coming off of, what did I do? I think I basically just have these supply zones marked on. This one and this one. And as soon as price started reacting to it and started pushing to the downside, I just got in. I got a little bit bigger of a stop loss on it, but it's okay. It absolutely melted because of that unexpected news for Russia, Ukraine, and Biden basically said that they would step in. So US dollar was just like, see ya. But yeah, so let's take a look. There might be a long in here as well. Anyways, so, okay, another 20 minutes, perfect. So let's go back to Monday. We will just go ahead and bar replay from here. And then again, what I'm going to try to do, because I'm trying to find a better way to systemize like these videos, because again, bar replay, just kind of ad hoc is it's a bit draining, and I feel like by the end of it, I lose a lot of steam, which probably isn't like the best for you guys. It's definitely not great for me. So I'm hoping by doing it this way that I can speed things up slightly, but also give like that same value. Now, one thing we got to keep in mind, right, is the model, what we're looking for, right? It's pretty much always the same. It's going to be if supply is in control and demand gives a reaction, meaning this low right here, this low should go because it's weak, but if it gets a reaction, what's it doing, right? So we say who's in control? Well, these lows kept going, so we can say supply is in control. If supply is in control, why does demand give a reaction? Well, that's typically to build liquidity. Sometimes it will take out this high right here, and there's your liquidity sweep if it takes the low, right? And what we look to is we aim to trade from this level here that's swept, right? Now this being demand, and this being the reaction, and then ultimately the sweep, that is considered our flip zone, right? And then if we happen to get price fail to take out any liquidity, we anticipate that if price does come back, that it will not trade from this reaction, but instead it'll come out, take out some liquidity of some sort, and then we would then look for this sweep for price to come and trade into, and then go from there. Now, there is always the other possibility that there might be a sweep of something else like prior, like maybe this took out some structural liquidity here, like there might have been something like this, high, whatever, blah, 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 right? And of course, let's just pretend there's a structural high right there, and then this took out that high, right? If this takes out that high right there and then starts to push to the downside, there are times where this sweep of liquidity is not necessary, and you can just play the chain, right? It's not something that I do personally a lot, but we are sort of putting more data on it. I know Tricky will trade those kind of POIs, and I know Aaron's starting to as well. So just keep that in mind as well. So there's a couple variations for that flip, but ultimately what we're looking for is that reaction to the demand, some sort of sweep at some point within the order flow, and then trading into that flip zone or into that reaction. So I think I need to rewind this just a little bit more to the initial reaction. We'll go to the 1 minute. All right. Now again, this POI happens to be the, what do you call it? The spread hour candles. So it is what it is. It's still valid. Often, you know, bigger banks or whatever you want to call it. I'll never claim to know what the banks are doing, anything like that, but often people with large money that can move the markets, that kind of stuff, they'll typically a lot of times enter the market at the end of the day. This is very typical of stocks as well. A lot of like setups for like pre-news or like pre-volatile stock setups, they'll enter the day before around like 3:15 or 3 o'clock Eastern. I think it's relevant here as well. So sometimes the spread hour candles, they will provide reactions. You don't necessarily want to trade those candles, but there's enough reason to mark them up as POIs. Don't ignore them. So, all right, so we'll refine this guy just to this giant 12-pip range. No problem, whatever. We'll see if we can find a setup that fits the plan, right? All right, massive push up. So far, there's no real demand reaction. Like the only thing that I would qualify right now as demand is probably this guy, but there's no reaction to it. You can see the price does push down and then it stops right here for some reason, but I can't justify it on the 1 minute, so it's kind of whatever, right? As of right now, the only opportunity for me to potentially trade from is just the extreme at this very moment. And we can determine if we want to do that or not.
Now you're leaving just like that.
I guess you could consider that the extreme right there. I wouldn't trade this because there's just not enough confirmation, right? Like I don't have any idea of what order flow is doing to me. It's still potentially bullish, so I'm gonna wait a little bit longer. So here's something nice, right? Obviously we have this huge candle here, but I can just bring it down to where the reaction is. I'm gonna also drag this over and make it a little bit opaque. This is nice because I get a reaction, and this tells me that it doesn't sweep any liquidity, right? So you get the reaction, price pushes up, and it pushes right back down. So this tells me that there is liquidity above this and that it will probably trade higher. So now that I'm starting to get a demand reaction and a demand failure, I can start to say that order flow is looking potentially bearish, and I can look to get into a short if it sets up. With that being said, I'm still looking potentially at something in this extreme level, maybe this, maybe, but I don't really like it as much as the extreme, so we'll see. We'll see what. We could also just wait to see if something sets up after the fact as well. Yeah, like this is like really crappy. Like I wouldn't want to get involved in this. Like even though there's like some demand holding and potentially some sweeps in here, like this PA is just not clean. I want to see like structure like this, you know, like actual structure with like highs, lows, sweeps, whatever. This like know the difference and try to stay away from that stuff. Okay, so it hasn't quite taken out that yet. Okay, so here, right? Again, I've said this before. The key to like entering like market execute is to hit the trade when it's coming at you. Now, I said I would take this, so I'm going to take it. I don't know if I like this momentum, right? But I'll cover this high. I'll give it 2 pips. And then technically our break-even level, right? It's going to be down here. It's a little bit far for some people, but this is kind of what my plan says to do. The catalyst for this pullback into the entry. If we even get down here, I'll break it even. But that being said, because this isn't exactly the typical setup where it like usually plays out a little bit tighter and it's not so crazy far down, it's okay to partial out, you know, at a certain level, like maybe this demand right here, and then break even maybe. But you know, it's kind of whatever fits your plan. Just be consistent with whatever you do. Me, I typically wait until I get down here, and I don't know, it usually works out in my favor, so I'm just gonna stick with it. Okay, so now what we can do is we can look for a scale in, but you really only want to scale in once you've, all right, we'll break even now. you only really want to look for a scale-in once you've kind of removed your risk. So if you saw a scale-in opportunity here, like let's say for instance, this doesn't quite react to that demand. See, there it is again, right? Just the window of imbalance, bearish imbalance, bullish imbalance, ignores this POI and reacts just off of that. Again, it happens a lot, but it's, for me, it's more of still kind of a mystery. So I try to notice it, but it's kind of whatever. So anyway, so I have like a bit of a POI here, potentially to trade from. It didn't quite react to this demand. We could always go to like the 2 minute and just say it reacted off of this demand. I think that's fair as well. So yeah, so if price comes up to here, and we can trade that. Now another thing that we could do is, because we have some reaction to the demand here, once this demand failed, right, we could potentially say that this could be our break-even level. Before it was this, but this gives us a little opportunity to say, well, the order flow is bearish, so maybe I can use that as a break-even level. Okay, so here, right, like I'm not happy with this, but I understand that this is potentially a valid zone. This doesn't quite sweep anything, but this here, you can see it takes out this high. So there's that sweep above, right? And then this is just potentially following order flow. So if it came back to this extreme, I don't know if I'd be too interested in it anyways, because it hasn't quite done anything to the downside yet. So anyway, looking at this, not sure how the best way to draw this, but basically what we have, right, is we have this demand reaction. It fails to break below, you get the reaction, it gets to push up, and then you basically sweep all this, and then it looks like a potential supply chain. And then this one. So at the moment we have two zones. We have this one, we have this one here. I'd be happy to take a chance on this one now that I'm risk off, and if it works out, cool. If it doesn't, then we'll try this one. If that one fails, then I'd probably be done for the day, kind of thing. So let's see. All right, it's coming back. We've market executed because it came into our zone. All right, we'll just enter there. Now, you have to figure out what you want to do with where you put your stop loss. Typically, with a supply chain, you can cover just the candle that you're trading from. However, there's a lot of times where price will come to the extreme of the supply chain and then move. So cover the high here. It's whatever. It's not that big of a deal. And then let's see what's going on with these. So I'm just going to go to 15 again because we need to kind of reassess. That's part of that demand chain. All right, okay, cool. So this is okay because, again, depending on what happens here, again, this is my break-even level. So what I'm going to do is basically, if price can make it down to this, I'll probably just TP it or heavily partial it, and I'll let this one run because that's, again, that's what I like to do. If I can get into a good position with a scale-in, I will partial out or heavy TP my scale-in, and then I'll let my original position run full volume. That's why it's important for me to find continuations. Okay. All right. So now we've got break even on this one as well. And if it hits this, we can just TP it. This would suck to watch this pull back and right before you TP. That's okay. You just let it run, right? You risk off, doesn't matter. Okay, so here TP, get a nice little 4.3R. Not a big deal. Not a huge trade, but at the same time, you've paid yourself. You're in profit. You risk off on this one, and this one's still running, and this one's running at 13R, right? If you start to see bullish order flow coming off this POI, you just close this one. right? I'm almost, nah, I wouldn't. It doesn't fit the plan. Yeah, I would have showed that. It's okay. So again, what we're looking for now is scaling, because this looks like it was just a CPB. There's no true reaction to demand, just kind of takes the lows. You have this little inside bar here. And that's the reaction to the inside bar. I don't think I would trade this. I honestly probably want this extreme because it's also part of the supply chain right here. So yeah, I wouldn't trade that. I would just wait for this extreme. So let's see if we get that. Nope. Okay, that's fine. All right, so yeah, let's see what else we got. Let's go back to the 15. We gotta keep reassessing. All right, at this point, I would definitely expect this low to probably go. Just because again, right? So we've been bearish. We're trading between this high and this low. This low is technically weak. So I would consider this liquidity. We have this nice POI here, which again, we have the circle on, so kind of cheating. But I think targeting this low would probably be the safe bet, 80%, and the rest here. Back to the 1 minute, and we'll see if we can find another scaling. Okay, so I like this. Get this demand reaction. That's a sweep right there. It's not really supply chain or anything like that though, but it does look pretty okay for a quick little entry. So we'll throw a trade on there. Ooh, we'll see what our stop loss would have been. Probably 2 pips is too close. I probably would have given it 2.5. We probably would have got tagged out. That's all right. Take a loss there, that's fine. Of course. Once this low went here, probably could have gotten in again right here. But I wouldn't want to give too much of my profits away, so I probably wouldn't have, so that's fine. Now what I kind of want to see is I kind of want to see this demand fail and then give a potential entry. So let me clear that loss out. Demand. See, this hasn't quite been tapped, this inside bar. So if price came to this, I might be interested in taking it. I don't think we're gonna get it. So clear that off. Clean that up. Okay, so we've just crossed that low. So here I would take about 80% of my trade off, let the remaining 20% run to that. So 80% here would have been 22%, or 22R anyways, depending on what you're trading. And then the remaining balance would have been a couple R, nothing crazy. I'm scaling here. No, I'm just kidding. It's way too low in the leg. But it makes sense. You still have that bearish order flow. Yeah, see. That's right. Okay, so, okay, cool. Now, let's go back to the 15. What time of day is this? Okay, that's 5 in the morning, so that was just London. Jesus. All right. Okay, what do I want to do? Alright, so we know that price is coming off of this demand. That was the reaction there. We could see it pull back into this zone from here. Let's see if we can find something on the 1 minute. So this is like, you could qualify this as supply in here, mainly because, I don't know, actually, it's not great. I mean, the only reason why I would think it's supply maybe is because you get a reaction, but even then it's not to these wicks. So on the 1 minute, I can't justify it. What I can try to do if I wanted to is I can look to the left. I can see what this came off of and see if it's something significant on the 1 minute. Well, I know it's a sweep. Yeah, I would not. Yeah, I don't think I would trade that. That's right. We got 40, we're on 40 minutes long right now. Alright, we gotta speed this up. Alright, cool. So, just gonna push this through, I think. Alright, so at this point we've broken above supply, right? So we've reacted to this 15-minute zone and we started pushing to the upside here. So I think what we'll do is probably just look at the 15-minute and look for price to basically come back into a 15-minute zone maybe. It should react here. Let's go to the 1 minute. Actually, it should be a catalyst for pullback at this point. You should get a reaction and potentially an opportunity for a long. So let's do that. Could assess some of this. So I'm looking at that supply reaction right there. Reaction sweeps. It's a little messy. It's really kind of chunky 1 minute price. We do have some pretty decent 1 minute demand in here. This guy. Does sweep these equal lows as well. Alright, so yeah, so if price can come back to this, I might think about taking a long. I might wait for price to kind of give me a reaction, but that looks okay to me. Alright, so what up? Market executed that on the way down. That's messed up. 2 pips would have kept us in. Unless it goes lower. Oh, that's unfortunate. It's alright. Looks like what it's reacting off of is this range as supply. And then this zone right here. That's alright. It's a loss. Yeah, and then if it continues bullish, we'll just keep looking for potential scaling, I guess. But let's see what we get. Let's look at the 15-minute again. Just gonna clear this for now. Okay, so we've taken this out high out now. So this was a catalyst for a pullback. So at least we got that part right. And then, holy shit. Now I would not long this. This didn't quite break the high. It just wicked it. So this to me would be potentially just a sweep. So I'm just going to leave that alone. Yeah. So now it's swept. But this is nice because depending on what this comes off of course there's another window of balance here. If we start pushing bullish, which you could see that as possibly being the case. Now we've taken out some of that supply. So the way I'm seeing this right now is that we've basically taken out this as liquidity. We've tapped into, of course, the window of imbalance on the 1 minute. I'm going to look at the 15. See what is up. So again, it looks like it came off this larger 15-minute demand zone here. I don't know if there really is a way to speed up these bar replay sessions. Anyways, 1 minute. Right, so supply, reaction, this inside bar. This to me would be a sweep. So I would trade off of this. Right, it's also part of a demand chain. Right here, a little bit of demand. And yeah, I'm happy with that. Market execute. Probably get a 3 pips on this one. The nice part about this is that my break-even level's here if we can hit it. And we're break-even. Now, yeah, let's go back to the 15, assess again. Like, we have a nice 15-minute high right there that we can target, and I'll do that. And we'll look for scale-ins along the way, right? Same thing. Hold this one full volume if we can get a scale-in. If we hit this target, 14R, oops. I'm trying to think if I'd wanna scale in on something like this. It's not really reacting off anything significant. That's the reaction. Inside bar, sweep. This looks okay. Let's see, we have this supply, that reaction, bit of a demand chain here. We also have this kind of like hold, right? The supply, reaction, while demand's in control. High goes there. So this has potential for entry as well. My only issue is that there's a valid zone below it. That's a little bit better priced. So what's the 15-minute up here? This is reacting off of what? That. Right, so in some situations like this, what I often will do is like I'll just reduce my risk because I'm not really sure if it wants to trade a little bit lower. Because we did just take out this high, which often results in a pullback. So I'm not entirely sure if I would want to long it right now. And for that reason, I'm actually just gonna stay out of it. Yeah, I'm glad we did. Okay, cool. Right, so again, counter trend trades usually best after taking out highs, right? They tend to pull back after that. But that being said, this is still looking decent enough to me. And we will see if we can get an entry. Doesn't look like it. But what we could potentially do, because it looks like it came off this range, this inside bar right here. That's okay, right? So that's happened sometimes, right? So I would have traded off that in a live market, came off this, I can justify that. Now what I can do is I can say, all right, well, this supply had this reaction of basically these wicks right here. This was swept by that. So I am now okay taking something like this, right? This wick, this reaction, or maybe this, right? Cover that wick there, right? So if it comes back, I'll take this and we'll just go long. And we also have equal highs now to target, right? So we have liquidity above. So there's reason for price to trade higher. Okay, we got that. And that now. Cover that low. And we also get to break even at this point. That has been swept. Again, 15-minute highs. I'm okay with that. And yeah, let's see what we get. What time is it? It's also getting a little late in the day though, so depending on what happens in the next couple hours here, we'd probably, yeah, see, we just took out that high. Or we probably could have entered here again. It's a demand chant. Actually, no, it doesn't tap it. That's right. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just assessing my positions. I know I'm thinking slow and methodically, but I'm just kind of trying to think everything through properly as if I was actually in a live market. The one thing that kind of throws me off a little bit is that this POI is still like not really tapped that well, but then also neither is really this one, right? This is like the extreme of this one. So I kind of have my eyes on these two, so I'm a little concerned about this one, if I'm honest. This one's well positioned, so I'm not too worried about it. But this one right here, I'd be a little bit concerned. Because it's a scaling, I typically use it to pay myself, right? I need to like stick to that general theme. I think what I would do is that if I continue to see this bearish price action, I'd probably just close it. Yeah, I think so. Anyways, let's see. At this point, it'd be too late, I think. Yeah, all right. So this one's obviously, it's broken even. That's all good, no problem, right? So now price is pushed into this zone. Okay, cool. So what price actually did here was it came below this one and it did mitigate this a little bit deeper. Did it actually hit this candle? No, it's still on the inside bar. That's all right. So now I don't really trade chalks. I find them to be too aggressive. What I want to see is I want to see order flow kind of hold. I want to see demand hold, right? The level of respect, right? The first level of respect. So now that price has been relatively bearish into this POI, took out this break even here. I want to see actual bullish order flow. I want to see the demand hold, right? So I'm not gonna just like take this because it tapped the POI and then broke to the upside on the 1 minute. Like that's like insanely aggressive in my opinion. So I'm going to wait and see if I can find a little bit of that supply reaction and then failure. So here, right, we take out this supply by hair. Just by hair. It could be seen as a sweep, right? This doesn't indicate bullish price action, but it does infer that supply might not be holding up, right? That's it. We've obviously taken out this little 1 minute high as well, so additional whatever confluence for longs. As of right now, we do have a POI here. Again, I don't know if I would trade it right off the bat. What I'd want to see is price come into it and then give me some bullish reaction. Okay, so that's, oops. That's the reaction there, right? Again, still not bullish. That is a good indication that it is. So what I would do is I would more than likely hit this as my confirmation. I would enter here. Might be a big trade. Cover that low. 3 pips. I'm always happy with 3 pips. I'm okay with that. That was very aggressive. That's okay. Nice. Cool. And the cool part about this is, where do we get to break even? Right? I would say this one. Right? Yeah, because we were trading off of this POI. That was the pullback into the entry, so that's break even for me, right? So we're broken even early. If it taps into this, then that sucks. That's okay, but that's the rule, right? What is this reacting off of? Freaking window of balance, Jesus Christ. All right, so if this were reacting just a little bit lower to the supply zone, I would honestly probably long this again as my scaling is off, and I'm not really happy with my current stop loss because it's small. So let's play with some profits. Not 0.7, Jesus, no. At least 2. All right, don't be a prick for a tick. That's what Kevin always says. All right, so again, where's my break even? Right here. Now, they're both positioned pretty similarly. This one I'm not too thrilled about the stop loss. It's a little bit bigger than I'd like. This one's nicely kind of done. So let's again go back to the 15, assess what's happening here. Again, I still want these 15-minute highs to go, so I'm just looking for that. And back to the 1 minute. Cool. Broke even on this, broke even on that. If we can hit the 15-minute zone, 11R, 15R, we'll just kind of see how it moves. If there's a lot of momentum, I'll have to find a nice level to TP my original position. I think that would be here, to be honest. Again, having scalings like this, for me, it's just about paying myself. I don't really give a shit what it hits. If it hits a supply zone, if it hits like some random bird on the way up or something like that, I don't care. Just TP it, pay yourself. It literally doesn't matter. Like, egos, you don't have to be like, you know, an analysis god or something like that. Like, I know it's gonna hit the supply zone, drop dead in like 2 seconds and whatever. Like, it literally doesn't matter. Just TP the trade, pay yourself, and then let the other one run. Like, whatever. So I'm gonna do that here. If it gets there, just put it in your pocket, you know. All right, cool. TP, we get a pullback, people start shitting themselves, they TP down here, TP down here. Just TP at the right levels, right? Don't hesitate. Make sure it's efficient. All right, cool. Now, let's see. What time is it? All right, so we're getting towards spread hours. That's the other issue. I don't like to hold my trades through spread hours. So that being said, I'll probably TP this one as well, or at least 80% it, right? So we'll partial this one out because I don't want to hold this through spread hours. I didn't realize how late it was. All right, so I'm just gonna play it through. Yeah, geez. All right. Yeah, all right. So the rest of that position's taken out, but that's okay. That's 8R at 80%, and then full 6% on this one. So again, we're doing pretty well. This one, we're technically still in this long because it's our best position, and I'll just keep holding it. Right. Yeah, let's go ahead. Back to the 15, push through Asia. Again, and if you'll notice, right, we're just sitting right in the middle of this range, right? This is, again, high, low. Where's liquidity built? It's always at the equilibrium. Like, just trade from the extremes and follow the trend. Like, if it's pushing up, like, trade with that bullish momentum. If it's pushing down, just trade bearish, right? Understand that this is coming off a flip zone, which is why we're looking for longs at the moment, right? Don't forget that. Often what I'll do is like I'll leave a little note like you know, like H4 bullish flip, looking basically just like longs, like just some reminder, right? Because when you sit on the 1 minute, you get kind of lost, whatever. Just like have some kind of reminder so you just keep going. I do need to speed this up though. I feel like I always get to this point. Right, I don't have to bar replay all this shit. All right, so let's go ahead and look at Tuesday's price action right here. All right, so this is tapping into our 15-minute POI right here, right? This guy looks like it's coming into a bit of this actual demand chain. I think we might have broke even on this one. Again, I mean, to be fair, in a real market, I don't know if I would have held any of these through spread hours at full volume, right? I probably would have partialed out already, so keep that in mind. Right, so this would have broken even, whatever's left on it. If I didn't partial, that's too bad, whatever. Here. All right, we've hit this 15-minute zone. What are we looking for? Same exact thing. We're looking for that demand or supply reaction and a sweep, and then go from there. So this is reacting to the range. It's fine. This is our supply. This is reacting to that. No sweep. This will probably get swept. If you want to be aggressive, what you could do is basically trade from the POI, and like meaning this demand zone or this extreme. This looks a little bit better to me because it's reacting to this range right here, like this bigger range, right? That's why it's reacting there. So for me, I'm okay with that. But this is reacting to specifically that. I know that's going to get swept because there's no liquidity sweep there. So if you wanted to throw a risk entry on, like I would consider this pretty risky because we have no confirmation that demand is in control. You would trade from this. I personally wouldn't do that. Okay, fine, it's gone. Break even. And then, yeah, and then we'll just look for basically opportunity along the way, right? Again, we don't have to be the first one in the market. There is a supply buy-sell wick reaction there. Here we have supply again reacting, so we'll draw these up. And we'll just see whichever one looks kind of good for getting into some position. So at this point, you know, we're coming off this 15-minute zone. We're definitely looking for longs. So we got to keep that in mind. Okay, so this supply has failed, but I'm kind of more worried about this than anything, as it's the extreme. It also swept these highs right here. So this is kind of what I'm looking at most. That would be demand. If it reacts to it, it would go higher. Yep. Okay, so demand. So now we got a bit of a demand chain. So yeah, I would long off of this if this supply fails. All right, that supply failed there, so I would put a long position on this candle right there. And we're in, market execute. Oops. We'll cover this low. You can cover the low of the chain if you want. I'd probably just cover the low of the candle. Something reasonable. Break even again is where? Right there. Oops. Yeah, that's technically break even. Yeah, all right, cool. Yeah, so that little wick above, I would have broke even with that. That hard pullback after probably would have not. I probably wouldn't have been too happy about that. But again, you're technically not really supposed to be sitting here watching this stuff, anyways. Just keep that in mind. All right, let's see. We got a potential scaling right here. Supply reaction. How long is this video so far? Oh my god, an hour. All right. Supply reaction, no sweep, so this will probably get swept. If it comes down, anyways. Okay, if it doesn't come back, I guess it's gone. Whatever. Okay, so here, that was our 15-minute high. Right there. So probably going to heavy partial on this, 80%. Nice little 9.7 R, so I'm happy with that for sure. And then this is potentially where some counter trend trades could set up. Probably nothing super substantial, but we'll see. Okay, so again, if we wanted to counter trend trade this, it would be from here. You have the high gone, price failed to take out the high. You have a bit of a demand reaction right here. Right, and again, demand is different from order blocks, right? Like order block, you would say, oh, I need this high to go before this demand is relevant. Not necessarily. This demand gives a reaction here. Inside a bar, this candle sweeps this high. If price comes back into this, I'll happily short it. Again, market execute, I'd be in this. Being heavily counter trend, I can't imagine that I would hold it very long. This would probably be more of a scalp than anything. To me, I would just look for kind of relevant demand. I might even just trail like 1 minute structure or something like that. You have to manage it differently if it sets up. But again, my break even's right here. 1.2, 2 pip stop loss. Break even, right? Here it's gonna probably do something with this demand. Nope, breaks through it. So at this point, what I would do is I would just start trailing this stuff with my stop loss. Probably move this down here at this point because it's getting a little dicey. Let's go to the 15 minutes. See if any of these ranges are 15-minute zones. It's kind of a 15-minute buy sell wick situation here. Honestly, yeah, I'll just TP this. Yeah, there's a lot of reason to just remove it. I would probably maybe partial this out 80% again, 80% 5R, and then just let it run. Probably take me out, close out a little bit there or something like that. So that's gone now as well. This would have been a nice long right here. That's all right. Yeah, see, I would. Even though there's demand here, it's reaction to this. Like, this is very aggressive, and it's starting to like lose that momentum. Like, every time we break the high, we're just getting like this deep correction back to the downside. So, knowing that we just took out the 15-minute high and it's doing this, I would use caution. Like, I wouldn't long something like this unless we got that first level of respect again where that demand is kind of holding. Yeah. Now it's coming off of this demand right here. This price should have, in theory, put new highs in, but it's failing to do so at the moment. If this low goes here, I might try to short it. So here we have demand pretty much all the way across until this point. See if we have any supply chains going on. The initial reaction to this demand is basically this guy. This candle barely sweeps that, but then of course, again, this guy gets swept one more time. Now the thing to keep in mind is like, you don't enter until demand fails. So like, even though they got swept here, that doesn't mean you enter here, right? It got swept again, you enter after this. So if anything, I would probably want to trade off of this little inside bar right there, because this looks like nice liquidity above it. There is the possibility that this reaction to this demand might give us something, but I would personally want to just trade it from this. Yeah, that's gone. So I pull that order. Looks like it came off of this reaction to this demand zone, within this demand zone. It happens. It's whatever. No big deal. All right, so now we've hit this demand zone. This is the 15-minute demand zone right there. All right, that's this, right? So we broke this high. Right, and we got this deep pullback. So now we have confirmed 15-minute bullish price action, right? And it's only Tuesday. Jesus. All right, shit. All right. All right. I'm already losing it. All right. Let's see. Supply. It's here. If we want to go bullish, we got to get that reaction from this, and then price needs to pull back into it. Basic, same shit every single time. That low gets taken. This high is now taken. That low also is taken out here within the 15-minute zone. This reacts. There's no sweep of liquidity for me. Well, there is this inside bar right here. There's like a little micro flip in here. That's a new term I came up with just now. See the supply reaction, and then this little guy sweeps it. So there is reason to trade from like basically this inside bar and cover that low because of this little sweep, or potentially even this guy right here, but that's a little too much for me. Let's see what comes into. It did come into this candle. This one that's up right there. I would have taken that in a live market for sure. Yeah, definitely. All right, so we missed that one as well, which is unfortunate. That's okay. Bar replay. And there's nothing coming back. It's just dying off. All right. Let's go to the 15-minute. I think we missed that boat. Oops. So I'm going to fast forward to a Wednesday short. Right about there. 1 minute. All right, let's see what we get. So, all right, so prices basically come up and is pushed down. And again, this is after taking out the next 15-minute high, and it started to push to the downside. Now, one thing I've noticed here is that we have a bit of a supply chain. I'll make this, and then we have this demand reaction. It doesn't quite sweep anything. So there's liquidity above this, potentially. So I'd like to see price come up and maybe trade into this little zone right here, this little inside bar. That would make sense for me. Potentially this one as well, more of the extreme. So we'll keep an eye on both of them. Technically it does mitigate it though, so that could be a thing. All right, let's push forward. Well, this is an inside bar technically, so we could say that did sweep it. So let me look at this as well. So we got 3 zones right now, which is not great to be honest, but it's okay, worth the risk. Inside bar, justification, sweep. I'm happy with that. The only problem with this one is that my break-even point is way down here. So this is probably again something that you'd want to partial out a little bit early. And if it even gets down there, if it doesn't rip through these levels here. Actually, don't think that's a great level. Okay. And circle's kind of annoying me. Again, I feel like this is so boring. You guys have got to be bored. Anyways, another potential scaling opportunity. Got demand over here to the left, but just giving this reaction. Again, these lows are kind of failing to go, so you have demand in here as well. You then have this sweep, which then gives you this supply chain, right? So I would actually want to enter off of this right there if it comes back. Oh, did not expect that. And yeah, well, I guess we're not in. Okay, now we're in. You can cover this high, 2.2 pips, pretty solid. You got a little bit more of a reasonable stop loss or a break-even point, right there. I'm just gonna rip it through. Okay, sick. Oh yeah, win of imbalance reaction. TP, hard TP on both of these, 9 and 6, right? And I'm happy with that. We can see if, let's see. Okay, we have again this reaction to whatever the hell's going on here. That's not a window imbalance. What the hell is this? Is that on the 15 minute? I'm not sure why that's marked up that way. Oh yeah, it's a 15-minute window imbalance. Okay, so whatever. Right, very difficult to pick out on a live market. I don't necessarily know if we would, to be honest, but potential for long here, but I'd probably want to see a little bit more conviction. Okay. So it looks like prices come into this POI right here. So it did sweep this high ultimately. So yeah, we market executed that. Yep, 100% risk entry. That's what we do. And yeah, now we can actually hit this 15-minute POI probably. There's a little bit of a reaction there for this demand. Actually, that range. Demand. And this. And that. And if it comes back, I'll smack it. Does not come back. Nope, that doesn't react to anything. Don't care. Drops. Oof. Alright. Realistically, we probably not going to hit that live. But that's okay. 14R. We'll take it. Alright, so we've got demand reaction here. Again. It reacted here. What is happening? It reacted here as well. So that's one thing to consider. Kind of just blew through this low, but price did just stop here and then push up and then swept this high right here. So for me, this is like a valid area to enter from, the supply chain, I would say. You have this sweep, and then you have this that mitigates that. That mitigates that. So again, I'd be happy to enter from this, cover the high of the chain, because it's not that big of a chain. It's pretty small. It's 4.5 pip stop loss. That's pretty large. Something like this, I'd probably market execute towards the EQ. Just make sure I cover the high for 3 pip, and then go from there if we get a pullback into it. So now we've just confirmed bearish intent because we've just taken out this 15-minute low. Could be a wick, could be something else, but we'll just get in here, see if we get back a little pullback into that zone. And it looks like it wanted the actual sweep itself. Let's see if it commits. Okay, so now we've broken even. And yeah, what now? Okay, so I'm trying to figure out if there's anything in this. We have this demand. You get this reaction. Of course, it doesn't sweep anything. So what happens? Price trades above it, right? As always. And then you get a bit of a supply chain. So like price reacted off of something in this wick right here, right? Because it just stopped. You can justify why to stop. Well, it came into this wick. What's in this wick? A higher time frame POI essentially. And then you have this chain right there, and then you have this nice little POI right there, right? Which is also part of this demand reaction. And if price comes back into it, I'll smack it. Okay, so we're in that. You can cover this high here. It's a bigger chain, so I'd probably just cover this right here, and if it takes me out, it takes me out. But I don't necessarily want like a massive stop loss on a scaling, because I'm trying to get as much out of the market as I can. So at this moment, we have this one trade that is currently running full volume. This one here, not so much. Well, we might partial out. We'll see. Look at the 15 again. We need to assess. 15-minute low is right here. I feel like, well, this isn't the true low though. This is the true low. This isn't the true low because this level didn't close above this high. And if we're talking about expectational order flow, you basically have this is your low, your high, your low. This is where it breaks right here, but that's not really structure, so that's your high. So now your low is here. That's kind of how that works. All right. So that would mean way down here. Way down here again. We'll probably partial this one out along the way. We almost got taken out. That's okay. We did not break even. And again, just looking at this. Any potential scaling opportunities? No real demand reaction there. Demand reaction here. I'm probably gonna call it after this, guys. I feel like you guys get it. Reaction here, sweep there, potential POI right there. If it comes in, we'll smack it. Whoa, we smacked that. We're on it. We're in it. Again, targeting this. Where do we break even here? Again, it's the same thing over and over, guys. Like, there's no point in me making these videos, I feel like. Just watch the old ones, right? Okay, cool. That's a chain. That's interesting. What's this coming off of? Oh, it took this low out. All right, so this is where I would partial at that low. I kind of missed that. That I would hold full volume. This one I'd partial 80%. This one I would probably partial 80%, maybe 50%. I would partial something along the lines that would just pay me and I'd be happy and hold this one full volume, essentially. This is kind of interesting though. Basically I have supply reaction here on these wicks and then price is trading higher from taking that low. Yeah, that would have been the entry right there. All right, so that one breaks even, which is fine. Okay. What time is it? It's super late in the day. Nothing else for us here. Now let's see if it gets down to this zone, and then we will call it there. And then I want to go over my CPI long, and then I think we're gonna call it quits. Did we get here? Oh God! Please tell me we get down there. Okay, I don't have time for that. Okay, apparently we don't get down there. Comes off this range. That's obnoxious. This whole buy candle right there. That's okay. Again, end of day before Asia, I don't think I would have held on to much of that, especially during this. I probably would have closed a good chunk of that there, so that's all right. Yeah, okay. CPI longs. Big push up, CPI down. I accidentally went too fast. Let's look at this. I think I had a lot of questions as to how I got into that long. Again, me getting into this long was based on this this 15-minute POI down here that hadn't been tapped into completely, right? It was this. So I was just looking at price coming into that. And then, yeah, once it did that, I just looked for longs, and it was kind of the same situation as always. All right, price hits the POI. All right, price then indicates potentially that supply is not in control. It could have just been a sweep. So what I wait for is I wait for it to demand to hold. Once demand starts holding, then I know that I have my first level of respect, and I can look for that confirmation after, right? So here, price comes down. Again, I'm not really doing anything until I get that bullish intention. Right now, it's still bearish, right? We took out the high of this. That took out that low previously. This doesn't mean anything, right? Then price pushes it down. We get some reaction, but these highs remain intact. Supply is in control. Here, we basically build equal lows, like very, very subtle, not subtle equal lows, but we build equal lows. Here, this is our first indication that price wants to trade higher, right? We've reacted to this demand, which was a reaction to this demand, the 15-minute, which took out that 1 minute supply, right? This is an indication that price may want to trade higher. So for me, I was happy to basically put a trade onto this zone here. And then, yeah, I think that's it. Because this, if you look at this, right, supply, reaction, right, this reaction right here, this low gets swept. So now you have a little bit of a demand chain situation happening. You have the supply reaction. You've got this low getting swept. This POI looks pretty good. Price will eventually drop down into it. Just wicked a low by a hair, but I market executed this. And I happened to get filled around the EQ. I was happy with that. I was covering these lows by a good amount. And then price pushes up. Right. And that's it. I'm so tired, sorry. I broke even here. And then my target was way up here. Why? Because this 15-minute high is weak, right? Why is it weak? 15-minute high is weak, broke it, pulled back. 15-minute high is weak, broke it, pulled back. I've got higher time frame targets up here, like this guy right there, and I know that there's nothing really in between this high and these highs. So my target was this, which I believe is the daily supply, potentially the 4-hour supply. I can't remember. Yeah, it was this 4-hour zone right here, which is reaction to this, the flip zone, right? Demand, reaction, sweep. That to be mitigated. So I got in that, and I smacked this on. Yeah, and that was it. So I hope you guys have a great weekend. See, feedback's always welcome. I know you guys like this stuff. I do need to find a better way to do it, so some things might change in the future. But yeah, keep working hard, and yeah, just make sure you're working on the right stuff. Don't work hard for the sake of working hard. Don't hustle culture is kind of like I think it's a bit toxic. I think people get the wrong idea, right? You work hard, you're gonna get somewhere. Like, sure, but you could also work hard on the wrong things and head in the wrong direction. And you got to be structured, you got to be organized. Just make sure you're doing it the right way and working on the right things. But of course, you still have to work hard. So I will catch you guys all later. Have a good weekend. Bye.
Les nouveaux prophètes de la scène mondiale, oui. Que voulez-vous faire nous tester, je ne crois pas. Pensez deux fois mon frère, et second main sport, qui veut dire c'est pas jouet dans mon livre là. Aïna est ici pour vivre pour toujours. Je prie le grand maître la si, wa de wa chaque soir. Alors, come on. La 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 la. It's a romance sport. La 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 la. What? It's a romance sport. Yeah, yeah. La la.
man sport. Yeah, it's a grown man sport like that. This one going out. Dedicate this one yourself.